Welcome to this episode of Scale is Needed. Clifford isn't here because you can't see him past my jacked fucking body. Anyway,
I hope all of you listening at home
arm off. You have a
enjoyed
booger
that.
on your finger.
Do I? Oh, it's because I just wiped my nose.
Kyle Bogart,
Yeah.
Cliff Bogart, Dan Kalbacher. We are here. We are ready.
We are.
And we have nothing to talk about.
Pretty
close to
it. No, we have Kyle's new nickname, Booger Fingers.
Booger Fingers.
Booger Fingers.
That's
yes.
right.
Kyle,
If you
Booger
say my
Fingers
name
Bogart.
3 times into the mirror, I will appear and go fneh, and like a little bit of booger will get on you. It's very scary.
Not a lot, just a little bit.
How do you spell FNAF?
Fneh. F-P-H. 2 N's.
I was worried that we were getting a little too mature.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we kicked this episode off with
Booger finger.
Booger Fingers.
If you actually titled these episodes, this episode's title would already be Booger Fingers.
We're 30 seconds in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So
We'll come up with something better.
let's we didn't. I feel like we didn't have enough time to talk about the Tahoe
We did
Again
not,
Faster
we
versus
did not
Rogue
get into
Throwdown
it.
last week,
We
and
kinda
we
rushed it.
ended up cutting it in half because none of us watched all of it anyway,
Yeah.
and then we also just didn't have the time to talk about it. So I want to get to that right now because here's the thing:
Yes,
that is still some of the best media that CrossFit has made,
that is true.
and they make a lot of fucking media.
They sure do.
So there's a lot.
They
to
lost their
unpack.
edge.
But
I don't know if they've lost their edge. They've definitely changed.
Yeah.
You've changed, man. You've
Yeah.
changed.
Well, the other thing is that I remember, this is the frustrating part about watching, is I almost am tempted, I won't because I don't do things, but I'm almost tempted to go back in and re-edit the workouts back into that footage. Because what's so frustrating about that is
fucks that up.
it's like they released all the workout videos as like separate. I guess it was back in the day when like sick workout videos was like a currency that they trafficked in.
Right.
And so you're watching the whole thing, like the build up to the workout, and then they cut out the workout itself, and they
Yeah.
skip. So this is like the actual film is like the behind the scenes
Right.
of these
Yeah.
sick workout videos.
Yeah, and the workouts
Yeah.
when they do put them on screen, they put it on for like a split second. They describe what the workout
Yeah.
is. I kept having to go back and,
like,
check to
check
see
what it was.
what
It's
is this
Too,
fucking
too
workout.
bad we don't know anyone with the editing skills to rip videos from YouTube and
Yeah.
cut them with some sort of
Yeah.
program
that would
into
take some
one
kind of
thing.
like future technology,
Mm-hmm.
something that
If
we
only.
do not have access to.
Although
the-
with
normally
all the
ever in our
workouts,
lifetime.
with the uncut workouts in there, that would be about 5 hours long.
You know-
Cliff does prefer most of his things uncut.
Yes.
That's right.
I don't get it. But wait. One of my favorite moments right off the bat, I was just watching the back half before it came into this, was again our favorite guy whose name I forget, the Again Faster coach guy,
John Gilson.
John
Oh, yeah.
Gilson. He was talking about like winning a workout where he put James Hobart against Tommy Hackenbrook, and he's like, completely unnecessary to go to 3 rounds, just burnt out Jimmy.
That's right.
But he says, but thankfully, in future workouts, now Tommy's not going to be a factor. And I remember, like, the workout was like 3 rounds of 20 burpees and 20 chest-to-bar pull-ups. And this was a time when, like, the idea of doing that one workout was going to really take Tommy Hackenbrook out of commission
Yeah.
for the rest of the day. This was a pre-Rich Froning does 17 workouts a day world.
If
Or
you
it
do
was
more than one
concurrent.
workout, it'll kill you.
That's
Yes.
right.
It
could
will
have been
kill you.
It could have been concurrent with that time,
Yeah.
except nobody knew.
No one knew.
Right, no one
That's
knew.
right.
Everyone thought that having like 2 sessions a
Yes.
day would have been like enough to make it to the game.
He's like the Nirvana of CrossFitters. He's off in a garage creating a whole new sound. It just hadn't hit yet. John Gilson, he's just still on the Sunset Strip at the Whiskey, and he's like, "Man, this party is gonna go on forever.
I
Girls,
hate this
girls,
analogy.
girls."
I really.
He
I
has
mean,
no idea. And like Rich Froning's there wearing flannel and like
You're still doing it.
experimenting with guitar sounds and all of
yeah.
that. You know, in a fitness
part
way.
of me and all the listeners died listening to that analogy.
Yes.
So
and
I
we're
apologize.
enriched by it because
Ooh.
hardship makes us stronger.
Uh,
you don't want the road to be too easy because when you get there, you won't be ready for game day.
What are you even talking about now? I don't even know what.
I can
do you
just
know what
keep
he's
going
talking
forever.
about? What he's just
Also-
like spewing nonsense at
Also,
my
now
face.
I know the title of the Rich Froning biopic later on. Enriched.
Enriched.
Enriched. The Rich Froning story.
There you go.
I still don't.
Everyone's confused.
Yeah,
including
I am
me.
now.
Why
Is that
did we
I
even-
assume that's a music reference?
I
No.
guess I don't know.
No, it
They
isn't.
ma-
He said
Okay.
enriched.
They
and
made
well.
a
yes,
Rich
there we go.
Froning
Oh,
documentary.
okay,
They
right.
just called it
Word
That's a,
Rich
that's a,
Froning.
that's a
Rich
ref.
Froning.
That's a reference to the thing he said
the
30
thing he
seconds
just
before
said.
you said
Yes.
it. That's not a reference.
It's
Oh,
Yeah. We were so close.
seriously, I mean,
We were so close to being on top.
I wouldn't listen to this. And I'm in it.
Yes. Yeah, both. Both.
That's the follow up.
Wait,
Rich Uncut.
No, it's
is the
no,
follow
it's
up.
the,
Oh,
it's
yes.
it's just the
Oh,
album,
yes.
it's the album cover for In Utero, but it just says Enriched instead. You see, I brought it back around.
yep, all the way back around.
Anyway, there was a moment during
But
that.
Chase made a funny here that needs to run back up. Enriched, uncut.
I made the funny. I said that, not Chase.
Am I awake right now?
I'm having a terrible nightmare.
All right.
You'll never get away, bitch. All right, so
Rick and Morty reference.
that was a Rick and Morty reference. Thank
Yes.
you, Cliff. I took a few notes. I was watching this, and I can't remember. Some of this probably comes with the second or the third episode. I watched like the first 5 minutes of the third episode too. But there was this moment where some dude did like these open-handed thumb push-ups.
Started with Chris Spieler
Yeah.
did it.
Was it Spieler?
Spieler
Yeah.
did it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was Spieler did it. The first it was the first one to do it like easily. and
Right,
then
he
everyone
did
else
easily,
did.
and it was like he had no
Yeah.
fingers on the ground. His had hands open. He wasn't
Yeah.
even doing the
Yeah,
fist
yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Barber couldn't do it
Yeah.
without closing his fists and putting his fists on the ground. And then Froning shows up and just
does
like
it.
does it.
Just does it, and it clearly Froning's like thumbs do not have the capacity. He's just willing to grit it
Yes.
out.
He's
Yeah,
willing
he was
to
like,
have
I'll
that
break
pain.
my thumbs in order to prove that I can do this.
Exactly.
That was really interesting to me because obviously looking back at this, all
Yeah.
I'm looking for is just like that spark
Of like Rich Froning's madness.
exactly. You're looking for the dominance that once was.
Here's what he needed, though, is the stakes are so low at this point with CrossFit broadly. Even though they're competitive, they're still sort of having fun. But as soon as a slight bit of real money becomes involved, and it really is, I think, by the next year, it's like there's no fucking around from Rich
Yeah, yeah.
anymore.
That's
The
why
aw
they-
shucks kid is just gone.
That's why they never had another Tahoe Throwdown. It's too serious now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were already getting pretty serious.
Yeah.
I think it was the end of that episode, right, when they had the like one of the last events they had that day was this big 5-person team chipper thing that ended with rope climbs, and Pat Barber did his 3 rope climbs for Again Faster than Miranda could do one rope climb to finish. She was on the very last rope climb, and he did all 3 of their rope climbs before she could finish her one rope climb, and like their entire team just exploded as if they had won the CrossFit Games. Yeah, that wouldn't fly these days.
No,
real
that was
ugly.
Fantastic. What was the other thing? The several great workouts, but one of my favorite things was Pat. I like seeing a lot of. We need to see more Pat Barber these
Agreed.
days. More Pat Barber in media. But one of my favorite bits was like Pat Barber, who's kind of explaining why he doesn't think they're going to win the hill run to the other people on the Again Faster team, and he's saying like, well, there's certain people who can run like that, and their names are Chris Spieler and Miko and Graham Holmberg, and like they're gonna, or maybe he didn't mention Graham, I forget, but he was talking about that, and then John Gilson is kind of like, after a pause, he goes, yeah, maybe just don't say that to everybody, which I thought was great. But what I kind of liked there is, and maybe this is me just reading into it, but I think subtextually, what he's saying in there is like, it's weird. There just seem to be like these few guys among this group of fit guys who just seem to be like way beyond everybody else. And soon you would see the rest of the world kind of pull away from many of the athletes who were present there. Like that was back in the time, because when if you look there, there's like Heather Bergeron's an athlete, and we get to see like Katie Motter-Henniger compete.
Katie Henniger still competes.
Competing and all of that. And it's like, then you see just a couple guys that's like, Miko's really strong, and he can also run, and he can do all of these things. And you're kind of seeing them begin to put the pieces together here, which is cool.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's the start of the third episode or not, there's a point where they go down to the lake for some workouts. Did you guys see that part?
No,
And then,
I have only watched part
Okay.
1.
so the rogue guys are hanging out on the beach, and there's just like this rock on the beach.
I haven't made it to that point yet.
Okay, so
Oh,
they,
never mind. Part 2.
they go through like this thing where Rob Orlando and Dave Lipson are like going back and forth trying to press the rock.
Yeah.
And it's
I do remember that now.
Yeah,
when you say
it's,
it. I
it's a
remember
really
from back in the
interesting
day.
moment. And again, it's one of those things where back then you look at that and like, they're going to work out. They're about to work out. Like, why are they tiring themselves out? And even Sevon asks Rob, he's like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you you're about to go do this like workout in teams against everybody. Like, why are you trying to press this rock? And he's like, well, it's there.
Yeah.
And I like doing this.
Yes. And it's like, and
those
just the
sweet
idea
innocent
that,
days.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just the idea that one would not burn oneself out by doing a workout,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
and then have it, like, I generally will do like from that point on, like I remember like that's a whole part that we forget about CrossFit culture back in 2008. Like part of the appeal, like when you would tell someone about what CrossFit was, is like you can do your entire workout in 3 minutes. You know,
Right.
You go in and you grab a barbell and a pull-up bar. You walk into a gym. You do this one thing that was prescribed today, and then you walk back out again. Who are these idiots spending 2 hours in a gym lifting all of these different weights for all of these different sets? I go into the gym. I don't spend more than 15 minutes in there. I walk in, I set up my barbell, I do the workout of the day, and I leave. Because, you know, shit like stretching or any of that stuff was just did not exist in the CrossFit
Or
world.
it was sold in the other way, which was like, oh, you know, I might go to the gym and spend an hour there, but, you know, I'm going to do maybe 15 minutes of warming up and another 15 minutes of, or 20 minutes of like, you know, some skill work. And then my actual workout, it's like 4.5 minutes. And that is just, I'm cramming enough into that 4.5 minutes,
Exactly.
the same amount of work as you jagoffs are in 2 hours at your Globo gyms. And now you look at it and it's like, fuck, I didn't do my 6 hours of accessory work.
Or I didn't, it's like I finally finished my 5th workout. Now it's time to cycle down through like 17 sets of tricep extensions for my auxiliary work for the day. And we're like, fucking come on. But this is what,
Rogue has built a curl bar.
Indeed, they have.
True.
Just
and it was
throw
also
back
sung.
out there again in this context.
There's a dope ass hook on that.
I got unlimited.
But I was just thinking about this the other day that, like, even that, like, I'm gonna do some warm up, some accessory work, do like a 4-minute workout, is still like that didn't even emerge till like 2009. Because I remember, and we should find this because this would be a great rewatch. I remember a video. It was one of the first times that Kelly Starrett was featured on CrossFit.com, and it was him working with Jason Khalipa. And what I remember about this video is like he introduced him like, here is CrossFit Games champion Jason Khalipa, and he asks, and I remember they like make fun of Jason for like, because when he takes off his shirt, it's clear he shaves his chest because he has like stubble, and they like kind of make fun of him. They like razz him, like Tony Budding like razzes him a bit. I remember, why do I remember all of this stuff? But
because you were in a
It's
dark
'cause it's
place
more
at the
than
time.
than your parents'
It
birthdays.
really was exactly. It really was the only positive thing in my life at the time. But what I remember was he asked Jason. So Jason, do you ever stretch in any of your workouts? And he was like maybe for like a couple minutes before I do my workout, you know, like I'll stretch a little bit, you know, like stretch my legs, stretch my shoulders and stuff like that. And it was just like, so like clearly the answer was no. And he was just sort of saying that, like, it was like, do you ever like clearly the truthful answer was, I do not do anything except lift weights and work out. And this was at the time current CrossFit Games champion Jason Khalipa. And so he goes, and I remember he actually, and he begins to explain like doing various, like how to like loosen up your hips, your shoulders. I don't remember what it was, but he was basically made the point. This was of course to my CrossFit brain at the time the only way that he could like sell me on the idea that stretching was important, to say nothing of mobility or anything like that. It was like, you know, Jason, like, You're like a Ferrari right now, and you're trying to put all this horsepower in the engine, but, you know, it's like you're like a Ferrari with the handbrake on. So what we're going to try and do is release that handbrake. And I was like, oh, yeah, that does make sense.
I've been holding my handbrake up this entire time.
The handbrake's been on? Yeah, and I remember that watching that video and thinking, yeah, like, maybe if I did stretch, my Fran time would go down, or whatever the thing was.
Kelly Starrett's whole thing when he first showed up,
Yeah.
like sort of publicly talking about stretching and mobility and like taking care of your body in any way or shape or form, he was like, no one will listen to me if I talk about increased range of motion because no one cares.
Yeah.
But he wanted he actually made a really smart decision because he framed it all with what did he call it? Like wet, hot, sexy performance or something. And it's like it's what everyone wanted to talk about, right? He would start off. I remember taking his seminar before it was the CrossFit Mobility seminar when he was just touring and like doing his like daily videos and touring gyms or whatever. And I remember he started off. This must have been 2009, maybe 2010, and he started off by sort of like, all right, who here has a 3-minute Fran? And like 2 people raised their hands. And I remember looking around going, these motherfuckers have 3-minute Frans? Like, who are they? What are they doing here? They need to be training for the games. Like, why are you? There's nothing you can learn here.
To teach them.
You've learned everything already.
They know the most about fitness.
You're at peak fitness. Like, you no longer need anything. And it's like the idea that that was the litmus test, right? I don't know if it isn't anymore. Like, I feel like that's still an impressive thing.
It's still impressive.
It's still an impressive thing. It's just no longer. It's no longer like pulling out, a Floyd Mayweather sized wad of hundreds, right? It's no longer the same.
There is a guy at your gym who has a 3-minute Fran, probably.
Right.
Probably. But and that guy is Handsome Chase. We all know that, right, Chase? 3-minute Fran?
There he is.
Perfect.
At least a 3-minute
At least
Fran.
a minute, if not above.
That's true. I actually make him test his Fran every week just to make sure that he is not slipping.
Every morning before he's allowed to have coffee.
That's right.
He must test his Fran and his blood ketones. What was it? But yeah, but it's 100% true because I remember watching that video about stretching and I'm like, this is boring. I'm going to turn this off and keep eating my can of tuna and eggs because I was very poor. And
I envision you, by the way, when you talk about that, in my mind, because obviously,
first of all, picture me at about 185 pounds.
Right. Oh, you're much thinner.
Yeah,
I don't envision it. I don't envision you thin in this at all.
Yeah.
I envision you like the Yellow King from the end of True Detective, in like this like broken down house filled with like animals and newspapers.
True.
That's
we
not
had
that far off.
We had a raccoon enter that house at one point.
Going back and forth between like just unintelligible bullshit and philosophy, just like spitting both at the same time.
That is also very, very close to accurate. First of all, to address your first point, Cliff is right. It was almost right. I remember that place was a wreck. We were breaking bottles and stuff on the ground with such frequency that there was an available pair of tweezers for pulling broken glass out of your feet. That was just like, where's the tweezers? They're in the tweezers spot. And then you would go get the tweezers and pull broken glass out of your feet because we were breaking that much shit on the floor. Additionally, one day we were just sitting in the living room watching something and turned and there was a possum. He had just wandered in. We eventually named him Buddy Boy. Actually, our roommate named him Buddy Boy. He came around a lot, but he just wandered in and would examine our trash and then wander back out again.
What the fuck is going on?
Broken glass and Buddy Boy the possum. And we would get drunk and have really, really, really like enraged esoteric discussions about philosophy and cinema and all of these other things, and then pull more glass out of our feet.
Miller High Life was the go-to in those days because that was the cheapest.
It was the cheapest, and this is the environment in which I began CrossFit. was and then because out back we would have like literally like a few feet away there's a little grassy area, so we had a shitty prosumer barbell, not even like a 7-foot like standard size barbell. But
it was like the thin ones where like you screw on.
One of those, and so we then took cardboard boxes and folded them together to create 2 pads so that we could drop the barbell on the pads just so it would stop tearing up the apartment's grass. And with that and just running and stuff, we basically started doing the best we could with the CrossFit main site wads with like a barbell, handstand push-ups.
I did a hang power clean 225 on that fucking bar.
How was that even? How do you even load 225 pounds?
Oh, you can't in the living room.
Oh yeah, living room workouts. Because why not? So on the broken glass floor, by the way, I remember watching John Wellborn do like the 275 burpee deadlift workout from the 08 game. games or the 07 games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then I did that workout on that living room floor.
So did I. Not only did I do it, I was such an asshole at the time. I think I was passive aggressively, whatever. Well, not aggressively doing something. You guys were sitting in the living room while watching TV or talking or something. I think I remember Brooke was there too.
Yeah.
And I did that workout. I did that workout in the middle of the floor, living room floor, while you guys were there, like watching TV and talking.
So imagine between where you're sitting on the couch and the television, someone doing this workout. Yeah. It was fun back then. It was, but that's the thing.
That's a way of talking about it.
It really felt like this weird, because we were not like going to a CrossFit gym. There was a community and there was people and this. We were just watching videos, looking up workouts, and then figuring it out from scratch ourselves with basically no gear.
Oh yeah, I remember. You know, it was a revelation, real quick. The teeny little apartment gym that was at the apartment there had one pull-up bar, as you remember.
Yeah, which we broke 4 times.
Oh yeah, twice.
Twice, yeah.
We broke the one. They got a new one. Also broke that one, and then no more pull-up bar.
They were like, you know what, guys, we're not going to buy a 3rd pull-up bar at the apartment gym. You're all done now. Yeah.
In terms like if I was to try and look at where you are now in your performance and try and guess what your base was like when you first started, that's not too far off from where I would have guessed.
Well, I will tell you where the base was, because we began, it's at the bottom of the shaft. The base. Get it? Penis joke. Anyway, we did the 16-week CrossFit, or 16-week, 12-week?
12-week.
12-week, strength and conditioning intro program, which they used to have on the main site somewhere.
It was a 5-day-a-week program.
Yeah, where you start with you do 15, you do deadlifts, run, squat, run, and then on Friday you do push press. So it's basically like a total and sprints, and then as the weeks go by, they begin to combine them. So it'll be like run 400 meters, deadlifts, run 400 meters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of work your way to doing a CrossFit workout for the first time. And I recall the first 2 days. First 2 days was 15 rep deadlift. So I did a 15 rep deadlift at some Daniel weight. And I remember after the 15 reps were over and I put the bar down, I became nauseous because I had been exerted so much by the 15 rep deadlift. And then
this is me, by the way, coaching Kyle on deadlifting and these things for the first time ever.
For the first time ever.
I had actually done starting strength a little while ago prior. So I had some strength going in, though I'd been not worked out at all for the previous 4 months. Yeah. So that was the place.
Yes, but then day 2 was the workout was run 400 meters. And I got a DNF.
That was fun.
I ran. I was like 400. You mean I just have to run down to that stop sign and back, which was what we guessed was our 400 meters? And it was like, no problem. And I took off at a full sprint. And I made it to the stop sign. And very shortly after turning back around, I had to stop. I had to start walking, and then stopped. And then just stood there for a long time because I couldn't.
Bring the car!
No, so fun thing, I actually found my Excel spreadsheet from when I first moved to Austin.
Oh yeah, and you did that,
and I did that same program. I found that the other day and did not open it. I don't even want to know.
Yes.
But I remember at the time it was very important that I log these every day so I know my progress.
But to bring things to full circle here on the podcast, it is in that apartment and in that context, with the possums running around and the broken glass and the people putting fists through closet doors and breaking
unnamed persons
and Fry breaking that glass bottle over his own head that one day. It is in that context where we first watched the Tahoe Throwdown. So which just
bring back good memories.
Yes, exactly. It was a delightful thing.
You're like, they live in a land of water and sunshine
and outdoor things, and they work out, and it's fun.
You know my first couple experiences with CrossFit were not at all like that. I wasn't
do it in how many possums?
Now,
rough estimate of possums.
Probably a few because I was outdoors.
There you go.
But also not in like a depressing post-apocalyptic style apartment.
I'm
that
still
you guys
there
are
in my
describing. When I first started CrossFitting, there was 5 CrossFit gyms in all of Los Angeles County, and there was one. There's one like a little bit north of us, Valley CrossFit, which has been around forever. where the Valley Girls were from, and like it has a long storied reputation. And then there was CrossFit LA, which was near, which was in Santa Monica. It wasn't even in LA proper, but that was near where I was at. So I wanted to go there, and my brother was going there at the time, and I remember calling them, and they were in this tiny little spot. It was in the back of like a Zen meditation center, which is a great place to throw weights around.
Perfect.
And like play loud music all the time.
Yeah. They need to fight through distractions to stay focused.
That's true. And it was maybe like a 150 square foot courtyard and a 300 square foot space inside, and then they had like, you know, you could tell they had just taken a sledgehammer to the drywall and opened up another like 150 square feet in another room. There was like a
which they were not legally allowed to do.
It was like a non-ADA step up through a wall and into another room where they had put platforms and like hung rings and shit, and it was awesome. And I remember I went there and I was like, I'd like to join. They're like, all right, well, we're full, right? So that was the thing. No more people. And in order to accommodate that and the people who want to join, we have like an outdoors CrossFit program that's just the same thing but with no barbells. And, you know, as spots open up, we just cycle people in through that.
We're thinking of buying 1 or 2 more barbells.
Right.
Some spots will open up as a result.
And so when I first started, I remember my very first workout, I made it through the warm-up, vomited everywhere. I tried to recover. I rallied.
Boot and rally. Got it.
I booted and rallied.
Yep.
Then we did another workout that had like single unders and lunges. Vomited.
Brutal combination.
Yes. Wait for it. I booted and rallied again.
How would you still have the stuff left in your stomach?
I know. Tabata push-ups to wrap it all up. Scored 2. A score of 2.
Score of 2. Yep.
Felt fine enough that I thought I was going to be okay. Helped carry the coach's bag to her car. Had to stop halfway to vomit again. Three pukes off the same workout. Once off the warm-up, once off of lunges and single unders, and then once carrying a gym bag. And from that moment, I was like, I don't know what the fuck is gonna happen, but I need to not ever do this again.
When did you come back?
I kept going back, and I kept throwing up every single time for 3 months. There's actually I have pictures of me. She would take pictures of people while they're working out for like their Facebook or whatever. Well, not even their Facebook, for like their website, their blog. And yes, Fat Armen. That's fantastic.
By the way, fun fact: if you type in Armen Hammer CrossFit, this is one of the first like 3 things.
It should. And then
keep you motivated.
Yeah, that's right. And then so. Jesus, I love these pictures. This is amazing. This is really looking back at some
little baby Armen.
Literally the first picture. Actually, never mind.
Little baby Armen.
So I remember there's a photo of other people working out. Right? They're training. They're doing like burpees or push-ups or something, and me blurry in the background, head in the trash can in this park. Puking. I gotta find it. I'll put it up on my Instagram. And so I'll never forget. You know, while I did start this a long time ago. There was a large period of time in which just any slight activity was enough to make me puke.
I remember. I remember we that same apartment gym where we broke that pull-up bar, and the story involves that pull-up bar. I brought in Richard, who was a roommate at the time, who I think fancied himself as probably being physically fitter than me because he probably was several months prior to that. And I had been doing CrossFit for a couple months, and I remember I had and on that soon to be broken. It was one of those fork pull-up bars that just sticks out of a gym setup, like a home gym setup. So I had gone from doing jumping pull-ups to then getting my first pull-up,
nailed it,
to then being able to having like one of those awkward, uncoordinated kipping pull-up situations going. So
that's what broke the bar.
That's what broke the bar was all the kipping. So I brought him in, and he's again. CrossFit was this was at a point when no one had heard of CrossFit, like especially in Austin, like just it was a weird thing. So I was just telling him I was doing these workouts, and he was jogging and it was whatever. So I said, well, let me give you a workout to try out. So he wasn't super good with the pull-ups either. So I, at this point, was doing, I think it was cleans on our bar, which we had to carry to the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had to like carry it from our apartment to the gym. Then we would put along with some weights
To warm up.
and then to use it. So we put that stuff on a bar.
It was a walk.
It was a bit of a walk.
So you guys were warming up.
We sure were. But what I recall was, we did this workout where I was like just cleans, and then after the cleans, pull-ups. And he did jumping pull-ups. I did my awkward kipping pull-ups. So I did a workout, but I had been CrossFitting for a little bit at that point, so I was actually able to, do like cleans, pull-ups, cleans, pull-ups, cleans, pull-ups. Done. Whew, I'm tired. On my back, sweaty. And so Richard was like, I remember, was like, well, how long did that take you? 8 minutes? Okay, all right. I'm going to do my best to try and beat you with my jumping pull-ups. So he goes back and forth and cleans, which were just terrible, and pull-ups, or jumping pull-ups, cleans, jumping pull-ups, whatever. I don't remember whether or not he finished. I just remember the image of, because the little apartment gym had little, like, French doors on one side, and he ran through them out, and then, like, dove into some bushes to then vomit all over the bushes. And just the image of Richard hung over a bush, just throwing his guts up, will stay with me forever.
Yeah.
And it was perhaps at that moment that I thought, I was at one of those. It was one of those key moments where I thought, like, I think that I'm actually getting fitter as a result of doing all of these workouts, and I kept doing them.
I remember, even like, I wasn't particularly in shape, as you could tell. Tell from my photos. I remember after like a year or whatever of CrossFitting, we had like a bring a friend day. I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring in some friends, and I'm going to fuck them up.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It basically turned into from Bring a Friend Day to Humble Brag Day, right? It was like, how do I just like, kind of underhandedly scale them down, make them feel like they can't do it, and then smoke them in the workout with a heavier weight, right? Like that was basically my entire plan.
How do you? The key is trying to scale them down, but do it in such a way that they refuse to be scaled.
Right.
Yes.
If you can, that's a magic place.
Or you just have such an overabundance of confidence, you think you can scale them down and still beat them in a workout.
That's right. And so, I mean, listen, I won those workouts. They didn't know they were competing against me, but I won those workouts. And
you made your point.
But I do remember one of them was, and this still to my mind sticks out as like just what fitness to me was like back then, and how there's some differences between people who were athletes at one point and people who just worked out like myself. So one of the workouts was like a Tabata mashup, and it had ring dips in it, right? And so they were scoring it with like lowest set. And I brought one of my buddies from high school, and we were working out, and we finished the workout, and I was like really fucking pumped because ring dips really hard to do, and I had a lot of trouble with them, and so did everyone else at the gym. They were like very, very challenging. A workout like Elizabeth was like a 9 to 12 minute workout. Like it was like if you could break 10 minutes on Elizabeth, that's a big fucking deal.
I haven't even thought of Elizabeth in years. I'm gonna do that like today.
Right. It's like if you could clean 135 45 times and do 45 ring dips, you're a fucking like beast just being able to do it. And so I remember I scored 4 was my score on that portion of the workout, and he scored 3, and I was like, how is that even possible? Like, why
he hasn't been to CrossFit.com as much as I have.
You don't CrossFit. You shouldn't be able to do this to me.
I remember there was such a like us against the world, us versus them mentality that I believe it was the first video put on CrossFit. I think it originally was an Again Faster regional video, and then they did a follow-up with him when he qualified for the games. First video with Dan Bailey. And they were like, there's this guy, Dan Bailey. He's a former track guy, and apparently like he can like squat multiple reps at 400 pounds. And like first time he tried Fran, he got it in like 4 minutes. And I just remember being angry. I was just like, that's bullshit. No, unless you're CrossFitting, you can't possibly have fitness.
Like, this is my thing. My thing, damn it.
Who is this interloper who just is going to come in here, squatting, repping out at 400 pounds and doing Fran?
Because do remember, the idea was, okay, not too many people know about CrossFit. Let's not get the word out too widely, because then we'll have superpowers over everyone else on the planet.
That's right.
And it worked out.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. See,
I guess we'll have to be juggalos instead, you guys. Find a different cult to join.
That's our next move.
our
That
next
will
move.
also give us superpowers, just
Yes.
slightly less useful ones.
Yes.
Yeah, man. You know, there's
Lateral move.
at a certain point, it probably would have been.
Yeah.
Not anymore though.
No.
Now there's cultural value to being a CrossFitter.
Now you have these
That's
fucking
key.
carpetbaggers like Chase over here, just
Look at
coming in.
Look at him.
Look at him.
Look at
It's,
him. Just unbelievable. Hey Chase,
You carpetbagging son of
What's
a
up?
bitch.
when you started CrossFitting, was
Yeah.
Rich Froning the champ?
No. No, I lived in a Ben Smith world.
Bastard.
Oh wait, you didn't
Yeah.
start until Ben Smith.
Yeah. So this came up
What?
earlier. That's
Oh
right.
my
I
God.
have this on
What
my
the
list of things
fuck?
we need to talk about.
You
because
fucking noob.
this came up earlier, and there's a whole generation of CrossFitters. I'm not even talking like Miko Salo, because that was a while ago. At this point, that was
Yeah.
8 years ago. I'm talking. There's a whole generation of CrossFitters who they didn't even live the world of Rich Froning.
Rich Froning.
They don't get it.
Oh,
You don't
Jesus.
get it, Chase.
Just don't get it.
You don't get it.
3 on 1 off, Chase. 3 on 1 off.
That was a thing.
It really was.
The entire
Uh-huh.
organization of the CrossFit
Yes.
Games up until last year was based entirely off of 3 on 1 off.
I remember like listening to Joe. It might have been your friend Eddie Ift on Joe Rogan, and he's like, no, the thing is you can just do like all legs one day, and then you just do all legs the next day. And Joe Rogan was like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. He's like, that's the best idea. And he was like, and I was like, Joe Rogan doesn't understand. He doesn't get it. It's randomized. You have to work out 3 days in a row and take 1 day off. It's the magic ratio.
That's
and
right.
All
just-
you do.
Obviously,
Yes.
Greg Glassman tested that
Yes.
and found that 3 days on, 1 day off
Yes.
is all you need to do.
And also, this is
To get a 700-pound deadlift.
This is an important note. For the first many years of doing CrossFit, there was no like cycling, like doing your heavy lifts and then doing a Metcon.
Fuck
no,
no.
of course not. You only did the heavy lifts when they came up as the prescribed workout on CrossFit.com.
As the only thing that remember those glorious days of deadlift.
One, one.
Yeah, it's like
one,
7
one.
singles.
The whole-
Do you want to go across? Do you want to build in weight?
I'm
It's
gonna
up to
pyramid
you.
it today. I'm gonna
Right, you
pyramid
can
it
figure out
today.
whatever. Then there's that was and then Rutherford, Coach Rutt comes out with max effort black box, and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were like, "What is this? How does this work?" He's like, "Well, check this out. Your fitness. This is a black box. You're gonna put some shit in. You're gonna get fitter. We don't care what happens on the inside. You just start doing things. You get fitter, and that's all that matters. The output is all that matters. And
Yep.
so max effort black box was born, and it was like, you know what you can do before your Metcons?
Yeah,
You can lift.
that's impossible.
One lift, one heavy lift. There's a 3-day-a-week program.
Right.
Still remember it. You go in, you do your one lift, you get your one Metcon.
Yep.
3 days a week.
That's
3
it.
days
It
a
was
week.
like
Monday,
it was
Wednesday,
like-
Friday.
Yeah.
And then it would rotate. Some days you find a 5 rep max. Some days you find a 3 rep max.
Exactly.
Some days you do
It
like
was a steady rotation. I think it was
Right.
5s, 3s, and 1s.
Right.
Yeah. Which is pretty much the program I'm on now.
Actually, that is,
That is
yes.
true. But I remember
Sure enough,
when
that
I,
actually works for normal people trying to get
weird.
fit
Yeah.
in real life.
When I
crazy.
joined, I wasn't really until I joined Eastside Elite, because I then later on started doing weightlifting when we were at Hyde Park Gym and stuff like that. But I didn't do it that consistently. Like I would do it like periodically, like a couple times a month maybe. And it was not until I joined Eastside Elite that I actually, for the first time, was like squatting and deadlifting every week. And I went that was when I went from just a normal sized human to just like literally put on like 30 pounds of muscle just in like a year, which
Yeah.
is physically impossible, but I did do it.
Yes.
And like all of my lifts went
It's
about
possible. I
like 100
believe it.
pounds. Yeah.
Well, so you back again. I think a lot of people listening to this, they get it, right?
Yeah.
They've been around for at least longer than a few years.
Definitely longer than Chase
has.
over.
So
Doesn't take long.
yeah, it doesn't take much. Like if you know who Rich Froning is, you've literally been around longer than Chase is. I had to explain to Chase who Rich Froning was when he first started this job.
This is true. I believe that. I believe it just because you said it.
And so, there was a time when CrossFit wasn't weightlifting.
Yes.
It's like it's really hard to like even say that sentence, right?
Yes.
Because there was a time when it was basically a small guy's world.
Yeah.
It was like mostly body weight stuff and mostly endurance.
No, that's what I was saying the other day. I was making that point when we watched the first episode of Tahoe Throwdown to bring it around. It's like I remember watching like when they like, look, there's a hill. I know, we'll do some push-ups and some air squats
Right.
and we'll run up this hill and that'll be our CrossFit workout. And I remember watching that and thinking that's awesome. And there was a hill near me and doing stuff like that because that's what CrossFit was. And then periodically there would be barbell shit that began to be incorporated. I remember at I think it was the 09 games or the last one maybe at Aromas where they introduced like a snatch as an event.
Right.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember Castro's exact
One
words.
rep max
Yes,
snatch.
Castro's exact words were, you know, you can bend your arms, you can press it out, it can be ugly as sin, it
Right.
just has to be a snatch or something. And so like guys were like,
It was
like,
filthy.
muscling it up and all that sort of stuff. And I
Miko
think the-
Salo, by the way, who won the CrossFit Games in 2009, that was the
yeah,
year.
yeah.
100 max snatch in that event, 195.
What was the heaviest one? Was it
245.
It was 245.
Dude, here's the thing. Just to bring it full circle back to me, because I'm the important one
course.
here.
Of course, yeah.
I am going to had been planning on Olympic lifting for the first time in months today, having done 0 of it and lost a bunch of weight. I'm 50-50 on getting the 195 snatch, not having snatched in probably 6 months.
No, yes. The average CrossFitter is fitter than most people. Like the average, like consistent CrossFitter who like is a regional participant and relatively young, like Chase. Let's
Right.
just use Chase as an example.
Right.
Could have won the CrossFit Games in 2008. Maybe not beat
Missed
Jason
my
Gallego,
chance.
but come close. But
I
come
think
close.
I think Chase would definitely podium in
Would podium in 08.
07,
Yeah,
08,
yeah.
and maybe 09.
Yeah.
Because nowadays
it would have been harder because he would have been 12 years old. But
that's the tough part. The thing was so
go
getting
faster. I'm a boy.
The,
But by the way, how is Chase's internship going?
it's going well. We still haven't really decided whether or not we're gonna sign
Bring
him
him on
full time or
full-time.
not. But you know, he definitely needs to learn a little bit more about who Rich Froning is first.
Working on it.
So,
Working on
there was a time when weightlifting and CrossFit were not the same thing.
No.
Right? If you were strong, you were strong because you came into CrossFit strong, not because you got stronger doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
You could get a little stronger doing CrossFit, but that was because you sucked at being strong, and any exposure to a barbell was making you strong. And so I remember CrossFit LA, the owner at the time was Andy Petronic, who was an endurance athlete, a Marine. You know, like he was a small guy. Cindy was his jam. You know, all those workouts were his jam.
Yeah.
And CrossFit workouts were his jam because 95-pound thrusters aren't that difficult when you can do them all day long. You didn't necessarily need to be super strong. And so that was the type of workouts that you did. It was like the gym you went to had a flavor. It was like, was this a bodyweight gym? Was this an endurance gym?
Remember when is it Angie is a workout?
Yeah, 100, 100.
No, I'm sorry, it's not Angie. It's the one that's like 50 double unders, 50
That's
sit-ups.
Annie.
Annie, yes.
He was fucking great at
I
Annie.
bet he was great. At
Yeah.
But remember when like things like sit-ups were part of like those are the foundational workouts with like girls' names. The
Right.
girls like sit-ups, push-ups. You don't see sit-ups and push-ups. in
Right. I
competitive
mean,
CrossFit
push-ups
anymore.
Push-ups, I think, have a place.
No, they have a
but
place.
Sit-ups definitely
They
are
definitely.
awful.
Yeah, I'm just saying
Like
like
normal
they-
sit-ups.
Yeah.
Normal setups not on a GHD
Yeah, just
are
like
definitely
normal. Yeah.
you just don't see those anymore. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed, 100%
Yeah.
agreed. And so, you mentioned the first time you went to Eastside Elite is when you kind of like got exposed to barbell regularly. I'm assuming through probably 531 through
Yeah,
Wendler.
just doing 531.
And so you're like squatting regularly, you're pulling regularly, you put on a bunch of weight, you get like crazy strong.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, man, I can't snatch a barbell. Like, I remember being unable to, one, overhead squat a PVC pipe. I have a picture of that as well. And
Or you're
two,
also vomiting into a trash can at the same time.
and two,
out of focus.
I remember doing a workout. We tried to do the workout from the 2009 games. That was the 3 rounds, 30 wall ball, 30 hang snatch.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that with an empty bar.
Oh, remember that the women's competitive weight was the barbell.
Was the
at
barbell,
The game.
yeah.
The games, it was the barbell.
And so
The men's barbell, they didn't have a women's barbell.
they didn't have
those
women's
did not
barbells.
exist.
They were too expensive to provide at that time. And so I thought to myself, I need to get stronger. How do I get stronger? I need to find a strong guy. John Wellborn's an hour away, so I just drove to John Wellborn's gym, which was near my school at the time. And I was like, I walked in, I was like, hey, I'm a member at a small guy gym, and I need to not be a small guy anymore. And he's like, whatever, dude. I was like, wait, what does whatever, dude mean? Like, will you help me? He goes, fine, just show up between classes and we'll make you stronger. And I remember the first time I went in, he was like, you want to do some like weightlifting? I was like, okay. He goes, here, do a Bergner warm up. I grabbed a PVC pipe and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm gonna do the Bergner warm up. And he goes, no, we do that with a barbell. And he gave me a barbell to do the Bergner one. And the Bergner one was like, like the high pull, like the hip hop, like the 3 positions.
I still do it with a PVC pipe.
Right. I physically could not do it with a barbell. That was a workout for me.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And I remember after like 3 months of this, I went back to CFLA and I snatched 200. And they were like, Andy Petronic called John Wellborn and asked him if he gave me steroids. That is a 100% true fact. I got into normal adult level strength, snatching at that time in 2010, snatching more than Chase can snatch right now.
Yes.
It's a lie.
Fresh.
It's a lie.
And
at the time, that's what I thought.
Said it.
Chase doesn't snatch
Chase
200 pounds.
cannot snatch more than 204 pounds.
I'm honestly not sure.
His body will explode.
But no, I
explode.
do
It's too much
remember
endurance.
this.
No arms.
When I went into CrossFit initially, but back in that horrible time, I thought genuinely that my edge in CrossFit competition, because there had been a CrossFit Games at that point, my edge was that prior to doing CrossFit, I had done a barbell strength training program. And so that all these little guys having a tough time.
So like Cliff thinking about his edge in the fucking CrossFit competition.
I remember when regionals were announced for the first time, standing in the kitchen of that horrible apartment, and Cliff saying, and they're only going to take 3 from each region. It's gonna seriously diminish my chances of competing in the games.
Oh yeah. Oh, you betcha. Because at the time, I
man.
thought, for one, when I was, 95-pound thrusters, my edge is I'll be able to do thrusters with a much heavier weight than 95 pounds.
This was thin Cliff back then too. This was maximum. This was
I was
maximum
around 230, 240 then.
Yeah, it was like my size. But it's funny you mentioned the steroids thing, because I remember that was the other thing. That's the real thing that got people hooked on CrossFit, because I had
steroids.
I had made many abortive attempts to lift weights and do whatever the sort of thing is. But yeah, there was that magical factor of actually exerting yourself, actually really hitting that glycolytic metabolic pathway really hard so that your workouts actually had a hormonal response associated with it. I started doing deadlifts and cleans and the shit in the backyard, and then a month later, I had these little lumps appearing on either side of my neck.
And you were shocked at that,
I was shocked. I remember I was in the mirror, and all of a sudden there were these little things popping up on my shoulders, and there were these things sticking out of my arms. And I was just imagine, 185, Kyle.
What is this muscle?
Seriously,
is this muscle out
I
here?
still don't know,
what
honestly.
it is. Yeah.
But, and that's being the thing, that was the thing, is that, it was after, because I was expecting, like most people, to, bench press and curl and see no results for the rest of my life and continue to be a scrawny person. And then after a month of just weightlift, sprint, weightlift, sprint, weightlift, sprint, all of a sudden these little bumps started appearing, and I was just like, I am a god.
I have unlocked a secret to musculature.
It was like that scene in Spider-Man when he wakes up and puts on the glasses and then sees himself in the mirror. It was exactly like that, and that led me to be the professional athlete that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that is a
Fitness.
magical period of time though. Because I've noticed that I've hit the thing now where I'm leaning in and just kind of holding my bicep. And it's there's a thing there. It's not visible if I don't do anything.
Arguably,
yeah, but it feels good.
Yeah.
Right, you're no longer just grabbing your humerus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
the reason
through
it's
your
all
skin.
bone here.
yes, and the reason to circle back, the reason I brought up the steroids thing is I remember just after doing CrossFit for 6 months or a year, I would run into people, because I just graduated from college at that point. I would run into people around Austin who I'd been in college with, and 3 or 4 times people would Kyle, were you taking steroids or something? Because I had gone, because of just the teeny tiny amount of muscle I had put on was new. People didn't do back then in a pre-CrossFit, pre-P90X, pre-functional fitness world we now live in. Up to just about 2007 or so, unless you were an athlete, unless you were a wrestler, unless you were something like that, it was assumed that whatever you did fitness-wise just wouldn't work or have any effect over your body or anything else.
All you were doing was very, very gently dissuading entropy from destroying your entire world.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No, it's a suggestion.
Please, just give me a minute.
No, you guys, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
100% true. There was, like, when did Fight Club come out?
Who cares?
99.
99.
Okay, so Fight Club comes out.
Yep.
Everyone sees Brad Pitt's abs,
Yes.
and they're like, "What the fuck? It's the peak male
What the
physique."
fuck? I thought I was straight, and I'm feeling stuff in my dick.
Exactly. Guy just lost his shit. That's awesome. That was awesome. That was awesome. And so, that was a really interesting time in my life as a 10-year-old.
We killed Kai.
So, there was no such thing as being like that without being a movie star or an athlete.
Yeah. Well,
normal human beings didn't have muscles.
Yes, but that's the thing is it's shocking that this gap in logic existed where it's like you would see like athletes or dancers or people who would like move their bodies a bunch with intensity and had these amazing chiseled physiques, and then the rest of the world when it came time to also want to achieve those physiques would alternate doing curls and jogging. Like that's what that was our solution.
Well, it all was built on the foundation of I'm not that.
Yes, well, I'm not that nearly. I never will be that. And it's just shocking because in retrospect, and I remember that was one of the things that was brought up. It was probably some early CrossFit.com thing where they were like, it's just saying like, yeah, it's like actually like exerting yourself with intensity is an important part of changing your body. And they then when they was like, oh, that's an interesting idea, and they're like, and by way of example, athletes, just broadly athletes as a good example. I was like, I've never thought of doing that before.
You're like, wow, hold on a second. Are you just telling me that I should have been trying this entire time? Like, all I needed was someone outside of me to tell me, hey, you know what you should do? Try.
Exactly. And the idea, and it's amazing how pervasive it was because everyone jogged and then went to gyms and did the weightlifting things, and that just was like, it's hard for me to describe to someone Chase's age that that like how outside the box it seemed to be like grabbing some weightlifts, grabbing barbells, doing pull-ups and shit, push-ups, all mixed up with intensity until you like fall over on the floor sweating and breathing hard.
Right.
Like, that like literally didn't exist.
For years after the CrossFit Games became a thing. Yeah. I mean, up until probably early 2010s, the idea of exercising through being tired was like anathema. It was like, you cannot. If you get tired, you have to stop.
It would be dangerous.
It would be dangerous.
Remember,
if you
when
continue.
you go running, make sure you only run so fast that you can carry on a conversation while you're running. That was serious advice by serious professionals about how you should exercise cardio-wise.
That's right. And CrossFit also, thanks to Greg Glassman, who very smartly positioned CrossFit as the whole thing. I still remember it was, I believe, a New York Times article where, quote, Greg Glassman, CrossFit will kill you, end quote. And it's like, wait, hold on, what? And so that became the idea. The mindset was like, normal people who are exercising, we're going to the gym, we're doing like a couple aerobics, and we're hitting the treadmill for 30 minutes. And then people who want to hurt themselves are doing CrossFit.
Yeah, and that being the thing is like all of the discourse that has since kind of changed but still exists of like CrossFit being dangerous and stuff like that isn't really about like tendon injuries from explosive movements or people dropping barbells on their spine or anything like that. Like that shit came later. That discourse began with, look at him moving so fast. That can't possibly be safe.
That can't be good for you.
He's laying on the ground in a pool of sweat.
Look how tired that man is. It cannot be okay for him to be that tired.
Yes, exactly.
Armen, have you seen the video of Christy Aremo doing the sandbag cleans while wearing a belt squat and a weight vest at Westside Barbell?
Yes. Oh, yes. I have seen the video of that.
I saw this pop up on, someone sent that to us.
Because people may see this and think that CrossFit might actually kill you? Because it looks like it might.
Yeah. Well, first of all, West Side does some weird shit. And this is no exception to that. But yes, there's videos. This is the 2017 version of showing someone, you know, a snatch or or Fran or like a kettlebell swing in 2007.
Well, I
they would look at
literally-
you and think like, well, first of all, where'd you get that equipment from? Why do you have a barbell that long?
Why are those plates? Why are those plates yellow or blue? they're supposed to be made out of metal.
That barbell should be safely within a Smith machine.
Exactly.
How dare you remove it from there?
Yeah, but I remember watching like the Greg Amundsen, Annie Sakamoto Fran video, and like, why are they moving so fast? What's the point?
Right.
What yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the world of fitness has changed, and I guess looking back at it now, which we have kind of oddly enough, I feel like, been skirting around, but this is what we have been talking about generally for the past like month or so, is just looking back at what we were doing back then, and I think in a weird way, if you kind of like pluck out where we are now versus where we were then and like the trajectory it's going in, it's almost like the birth of the internet, right? There was like this fear of the unknown. You can't do that. Why would you do that? What does that even have to do with the real world? Why would anyone want to participate in something like that? And then look how ubiquitous it's become, right? And so I think this idea of just like intense fitness, not necessarily CrossFit, but it's changed the fucking world with how people exercise.
Yeah, it's and the thing
Just
is,
like the internet has changed the way people masturbate their wieners.
That's true.
Exactly.
Never go back.
That's
right.
And in the Flow bathroom.
On company computers.
Yeah, you know, that does explain why I see a lot of men going into the Flow bathroom and like 45 minutes later coming out with like disheveled hair, putting on their shirt again. Like, what are you doing in there?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Hanging out.
Bro stuff.
Yeah.
Bro stuff.
Yeah. It really has also come full circle in that CrossFit hit kind of, I think, for me, kind of peak bullshit at a certain point. And now it has receded to the point where, and by that I mean, like, I really need to be able to, like, I need to, like, probably take an O-lifting class and work on my gymnastics and be able to walk on my hands and do all this stuff, and I can't do any of it, therefore I'm a failure. And, like, it is certainly... the tide has rolled back, at least for me personally, but perhaps also culturally, as we're kind of seeing changes in the games where now it's like, as we often say, tired is enough.
Yes,
but
it
also
is.
just the idea that I now go in, I lift weights, and then like I use many of the same principles that were at work in the early days of CrossFit to program my workouts. It's like I'm going to do 135-pound power cleans and pull-ups. It's going to be a couplet, and the numbers aren't going to be 40 of each, then 10, 30 of each, then 20 of each. It's going to be like I'm going to do like 15, 12, 9 of each, and at the end I'm going to be tired.
Right.
And that's good enough.
Well, you know, so it's taken us 10 years.
Yep.
Like the three of us.
Yes.
It's taken us 10 years.
30
Cliff
years
is still
combined.
working on it.
30
But
years combined.
It's taken us this time to figure out why the fuck we're doing this. Right?
Cliff is still finding himself.
I'm still
Cliff
finding
is still
myself.
finding himself. And so there's like this.
He brought it back to core principles. Supplements.
That's right.
Taking supplements.
There's this like life cycle of a CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And I tried when I was coaching full time, and when people ask me, I still am trying to get them into the mindset that I have now versus the mindset that I had when I was in their shoes in like the first year, 2 years, 3 years of CrossFitting, which is if you're just fitnessing for the sake of more fitnessing, you're creating a really weird feedback loop that absolutely adds nothing to your life.
No.
And you're starting to see a lot of CrossFitters who have been around for longer than a few years, or who are past that competency level where it's kind of like, you know, there's a tipping point. At some point, you just have to do a fuck ton of work to get any better.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much is it worth to you to get better at this point?
And really is getting any better, you know, something that will have any tangibly positive impact on your life.
By the way, better
Yeah.
in this situation and in situations revolving exercise and CrossFit means fitter, not better as a human being.
No, and often that can also come with less free time, more injuries, all sorts of bullshit.
Right.
Wasting money on supplements.
Right. And so
And here as well.
That's right. Between the two of you guys, I've seen that happen.
Yes.
And we're starting to see a lot of CrossFitters who branch out and actually apply their fitness to things. Like, I just saw it popped up on the screen, which is what I want to talk about, which is Sam Dancer just tried out jiu-jitsu, right?
Oh, man, I don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
He is very strong.
Yeah. So, but he's the newest one in a long line of CrossFitters who are finally thinking to themselves, why should I make the decision of, in order to improve, I now must work out 3 times as much as I was before, versus why don't I just go and ride a bike or swim every now and then?
Why don't I just hold on to like this maintenance level of just way fitter than anybody else and not try and push through, and then maybe go do some fun stuff? Or in the words of Chris Spieler in that CrossFit promo ad after his first retirement, what am I going to do with all this fitness?
Right.
Exactly.
And Spiel to this day still talks about like, I just like to be outside and ski and mountain bike and like hang out with my kids and go hiking, and that's my #1 priority. And I accidentally qualified for the CrossFit Games this year as a master.
Yeah, and I'm at that point now where I am getting old enough where it has to be where I'm actually thinking about it the way that like my father used to think about like running marathons. It's like, I'm getting older, so I'm going to keep doing this so that I can stay healthy.
Right.
It's like I don't really care if I never hit a muscle up again or anything like that. It's just like I'm gonna keep doing because years I avoided doing my own programming workouts because I'm like, but if you do your own programming, you'll be
skewed.
Yes, you'll be skewed. You'll neglect your weaknesses. I'm like, what weaknesses?
Yeah.
I mean, not that I'm super badass, but weak at what that would actually mean anything at all to me or my life? Nothing.
I think the
yes, I will cherry pick the movements that I like to do. Thank you very much, because I like to do them.
I would only add one more thing.
Yeah.
Pecs.
Yes, I do need to work on pecs.
Your strengths are clear when you look at yourself from a profile. All the muscles are on the back half of your body.
Yes.
You need a little bit of pecs.
I look like half
that'll
dome.
balance everything out. Exactly.
Yes. There you
Hashtag
there's actually a rock climber climbing you right now.
Yes, that's right. He's actually napping in one of those little hammocks.
In 3 hours.
Right between my breasts.
In 3 hours, there's going to be rest in peace, flow climbing, but there would have been a flow climbing piece on it. So we're starting to see a lot of CrossFitters.
There's just a drone going up and
right.
down the aisle right
I've been
now.
trying to figure out what that buzzing was.
It's gonna get some sick summiting shots.
So there's a lot of CrossFitters who are trying out new things like jiu-jitsu, and I think the value there is really clear. It's something that people need to understand, that you cannot just fitness for the rest. Like you can, I guess, but that's really fucking boring.
Yeah.
Rich Froning's still doing it.
He is still fitnessing.
He's making a lot of money doing it, though.
That's true.
Yeah. And if I had to guess, I would say Froning is probably like really kind of wearing the tread on those tires pretty thin at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Rich Froning will perpetually be fitter than all of us forever. So
yeah, he literally can stop working out right now. And 5 years from now, I could not train hard enough to beat him in a workout.
He could literally like stop training now, dive into a swimming pool filled with honey and Cheetos, and just consume it from the bottom, and then repeat that process every day for the next 5 years, and he would still be fitter than me.
Yeah, he actually does apply his fitness to the sport within which he competes and dominates.
Yes.
So
and makes money
doing it,
which really in the end is all that matters in life.
It's true.
So listen, don't let me tell you what to do with your free time. Those of you who are listening and trying to figure out whether or not more fitness is right for you, but perhaps we should try and think about other more beneficial applications of our fitness.
And as obvious as all of these things sound, it can still be rather confusing. It can be a dark forest to navigate, because I remember as recently as since we started this podcast, I remember thinking, once my leg had kind of fully healed, thinking like, if I go for, I want to lose weight, but I want to go for that 600-pound deadlift, and these two goals seem to be at odds. And then I really thought about it, like, why do I want to deadlift 600 pounds?
Right.
I don't know why. But I know why I want to lose weight, so I can look like Handsome Chase.
Right.
Obviously.
Don't we all?
600-pound deadlift is way better decision, because more is more.
Chase.
And more is better.
So I've decided I'm going to starve myself until my man bun is as good as Chase's man bun.
That's a good idea.
That's all in diet.
It won't take long.
Yes, exactly.
It won't take long. I think the core lesson here is do whatever you want to do, but maybe understand why you want to do it.
Yes, and what I want to do is go to Tahoe and throw down. Come on, guys, let's do it. Full circle.
Let's do it.
You know,
Let's throw some logs.
do we have new reviews? I feel like we can just wrap this up right here.
I feel like
He's trying to avoid having
I
to do
feel
it.
like we are pretty close.
I also feel like we're pretty close.
I feel like
We're dangerously close.
dangerously close.
So I did a count,
Oh God.
and with our international reviews,
Oh no.
including Norway, Sweden, the UK,
and for the-
New
and-
Zealand. This is
wait,
not
hold
even
on.
all the international.
Before we
reviews.
quite get there,
Dude.
well, again, for our new listeners, of whom I'm sure there are many, when we made a promise, a commitment to our listeners that if we made it to 155-star reviews on iTunes, we would engage in the torque mile, which is a storied tradition that I made up, where one does nose torque like a power lifter would do, which is poison. Let's just call it that. And then runs 400 meters, then poisons themselves again up the nose, then runs 400 meters, and repeats this 2 more times to complete a torque mile. No one has ever attempted this in the history of the world.
That's true.
This will be the inaugural
We're gonna set a
torque
torque mile
mile
world record.
and this is just a bad idea. And considering our last bad idea went over so well, we thought, why not do this? So,
I'm literally
Daniel,
getting cold sweats right now.
you're actually sweating thinking about doing a torque mile.
and
So how close are we to 155-star reviews, Daniel?
we are at 153.
Oh no! That is not at all what I wanted you to say.
And that is only counting, once again, U.S., Canada, Australia, Germany, New Zealand, Ireland, Norway, UK, and Sweden. There are other reviews that
I
are not
am
being counted right now.
So
so I want to
disappointed.
encourage all of our
Yes.
people to continue.
Thank you, Scala's Internation.
And continue reviewing us at 5 stars in your country of choice.
Yeah.
Because when we hit 200, I'll come up with something even stupider.
Yes.
But as of right now, I have already begun the process. The wheel is turning.
The wheel is
for
turning.
a gross misuse of company resources.
Yes.
To get this torque mile going.
Gross
When
misuse.
are we thinking of making this happen?
Misuse. Misuse.
So we're working
Everyone,
on it.
take your laptops to the bathroom. Misuse. Misuse.
So I'm currently working with our other production arm, the non-documentary wing.
We're
to
folding in
figure
company
out-
resources for this in a big way.
to
Human
figure
resources.
out how gross of a misuse of company resources this will be. So that it'll require some scheduling, some producing.
Will there
but
be
within-
drone shots?
Yes.
Yeah! There will be drone shots. Not many people. I mean, listen, everybody dies, but not everyone gets a drone shot of their own death.
Just dead body on the floor, drone like flying above it.
Of just a pool
Yeah.
of nasal blood.
And I'm not shitting you. On my pre-production document, that is literally item number 1 is drone shots.
You don't have to shit me. I will shit me.
But yes, no. It will probably be before the end of the month. Before the end of the month, we'll be doing this. If not early August, but yes.
So I
This is
guess I'm not
happening.
making it to the CrossFit Games. I might very well die
you
the
might be
last
dead.
week
Yeah.
of July.
Or early August are the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
He's gonna
Well-
be gone.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We will make a time that
Alright.
works. This is going to happen because it is, as of today, it is happening.
Nice.
I
is
am
happening.
I am disappointed.
Yeah.
And I guess if I'm just gonna think about it, and hopefully it's not gonna happen. So let's go to wrap this up. Your social media, sir.
I am Mr. Kyle Bogart on the best goddamn Instagram account on the internet.
I am at Cliff Bogart on an Instagram account that's it's starting to pick up
exists.
steam. It's starting to pick up
It's
steam.
like what, 3 posts?
4, I think.
4?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm at a Supersonic Man on Twitter, Instagram, etc. And I host Hot Tag, our pro wrestling podcast, going live in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that.
Whatever. And I am at Armen Hoists on
We
all the
bummed Armen
things.
out.
He has lost all enthusiasm for
This
life.
fucking torque
Yes.
mile idea.
Goddamn right, Armin.
Who made up that idea?
I'm pretty sure it was you.
No. I was still high off of all that pre-workout.
Yeah,
You
someone
shouldn't
check the
have let
tape.
me talk.
Oh yeah, and it is actually my goal to get a Torque Mile sponsored by Full Metal Jacked.
Yes.
I don't even want to. I'm not gonna.
The Full Metal Jacked is what's going to help you on the 400 meter part. You're
That's
gonna
right.
Need to down that.
That's
If
right.
anyone knows anyone who works with Full Metal Jacked, give them
Just
my
reach
info.
right out. Yeah.
That's right. Anyone who knows someone who works for the Mexican mafia. Bienvenidos a Tejas.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much, folks, for listening and watching along this episode of Scale is Needed. And hopefully you learned a little bit something about the history of fitness.
Yes.
And it didn't come across as get off my lawn style talking
I hope it
at you.
did, because I want everyone, especially Chase, to get off of my lawn.
That's true.
That's right, Chase.
Chase
Coming for you.
Chase started CrossFitting after Froning, so he literally does not matter.
I
in the
forgot
world
that
of fitness.
I forgot
1
that there
AF.
was time that elapsed since Rich Froning, like that was a thing.
I still view that as current day. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. To me, he still is
Yes. He is forever.
forever Froning.
Forever. Foroning.
There you go.
But
All right, we're done. Bye, guys.